It was still early in Oviedo. The streets were almost empty, and the city felt as if it was still asleep. A few hours earlier, the same street had been full of music and people. Now they were quiet again. And somewhere between the last sign of the night and the first light of the morning, my Camino began. So, let's head off on the first stage to Grado. It's 25.5 kilometers. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. There is no one around, just the remains of last night's party. Well, we will walk through the city for a while and then heading into the nature at an easy pace. Ciao! Leaving Oviedo was actually easier because no one was watching me. There was no ceremonial moment, no crowd, and no dramatic beginning. Just a backpack, a long road ahead, and the first kilometers through quiet streets. But knowing the history didn't make the walk any easier. Even here, I was already wondering whether I had made the right decision. Could I really make it all the way to Santiago? 325 kilometers may look manageable on the paper, but the Camino isn't walk on the paper. It's walk with your feet, your back, your doubts, and your own energy. Around me, the city was slowly waking up from the previous night. People were coming back from the bars, while I was walking from the city, heading towards something I still didn't fully understand. The landscape opened up, and the Camino became even quieter.
Ahoj Oviedo. Ahoj přírodo.
In that moment, I really felt for the first time that the journey has begun. The streets were behind me, the landscape opened up, and the breakfast suddenly became the most important moment of the whole morning. Before a long day of walking, even a simple breakfast felt like a small ritual of preparation. You don't know exactly what is waiting for you, but you know you will need the strength to get through it. Once we left the city behind, the route itself began to change. Asphalt slowly gave way to narrower paths, country lanes, and wooden walkways. The rhythm of the walking changed too. In the city, I was moving through the streets. Here, I was moving through the landscape itself. The Camino Primitivo is not known as an easy route. The first stage from Oviedo to Grado is about 25 to 28 kilometers, depending on the exact variation and starting point. It's tough opening day with constantly changing terrain and elevation. But at that moment, I wasn't thinking about the whole journey to Santiago. I was focused on the next turn, next hill, and the next place where I could rest for a moment. There were cows grazing in the fields, birds singing in the trees, and almost no other pilgrims on the trail. That surprised me. I had expected that Camino to be full of people, but for long stretches it felt like I had the whole landscape for myself. But that silence wasn't empty. It was full of small sounds. Footsteps on the path, grass moving in the wind, and the wind itself passing through the trees. When you walk slowly enough, you can't ignore those sounds anymore. They became the soundtrack of the whole journey. None of the hills were impossibly high, but together they demanded a lot of focus. Every climb took something out of the body, and every descent reminded me that another hill would come later. We reached the church of Santa Maria in Loriana, a small historic place along the route. More than anything, it gave us a chance to slow down for a moment, find some shade, and cool off before continuing. The stop was short, but helped. We got back to the path with the tired legs, a hot body, and the clear awareness of how much kilometers we are still ahead of us. The Camino was becoming more personal than I expected. Walking gave me a time to think about questions I usually avoid in everyday life. What am I really looking for? What am I trying to leave behind? And how much of this journey is really about getting to Santiago? And how much is it about understanding the person who started it? I set off this journey for several reasons. I wanted to walk, film, step away from the normal routine, and find out what happens when you have nowhere to go but forward. And the trees suddenly opened and the views appeared. In front of me were reservoirs, green hills, and the distant valleys. In moments like that, all the effort starts to make sense. Not because the walk becomes easy, but because the landscape gives something back. The pilgrim passports get filled with the moments like this. A stamp might seem like a small thing, but in reality it becomes proof of movement. A record that says, I was here, I made it this far, and I kept going. At the beginning of the pilgrimage, every stamp felt like the first place of new collection. By the end, each of them will connect to a specific memory. One of the strange things about walking is that you can hardly see your progress while you're doing it. You can walk for an hour and feel like you've been barely moved at all, but every step is taking you somewhere. Slowly, almost without noticing, the destination gets closer. The landscape keeps changing. Sometimes we walk on the roads, sometimes through the forests, and sometimes through open countryside. There were no dramatic landmarks every few minutes. The beauty was in repetition. Another gate, another path, another hill, and another view. This day was full of contrast. The morning began in a quiet city. Now we were deep in nature, surrounded by green hills and open sky. And even though the landscape felt peaceful, the body was already beginning to understand how demanding the Camino really is. The approach to Grado also follows an old pilgrim landscape. The route passes through the places like Premoño and Peñaflor, where there were once facilities and pilgrim hospices connected to the road to Santiago. Important points of the stages also include the Church of San Juan in Peñaflor and the final approach towards Grado. So, friends, quick update. We are slowly approaching the end of today's walk. We covered 19.8 kilometers and we still have about 5 to go to the hotel. We just stopped for a little refreshment by the river. Today's walk was quite pleasant. Some flat sections, 3 short climbs, and a lot of downhill. And it's brutally hot. Well, it feels brutal mostly because we are carrying rain jackets and gaiters with us. We only saw one pub after about 12 kilometers just past the roundabout, and then a nice bar maybe 3 kilometers back from here. So in the morning we made ourselves a snack, and we had that snack by a really pretty little church. Also, here near Grado there is a forest fire, so helicopters are flying around picking up water from the lake. Hopefully our hotel doesn't end up covered in ash. The Camino is also about not rushing. Right now there is a helicopter flying with water putting out the forest fire. So in conclusion, it's amazing. But mainly, why can't we walk like this in the Czech Republic? Why we do have to fly to Spain and walk the Camino where we could actually walk at home too? The Czech Republic is beautiful, but at least for me, I wanted to take a break from Czech Republic. I didn't want to hear Czech language, I didn't want to deal with anything. I wanted to go to a country where nobody knows me, and I don't know anyone. And so far, that worked out. It's fantastic. The Spanish people are great, and the pilgrims are from all over the world. So what more could I ask for? Take care. Bye Vashek from Camino Primitivo. Ciao! The last kilometers were hardest. The heat stayed with us all day, and the initial excitement of the first day was replaced by simply desire to finally arrive. We walked about 28 kilometers. There were hills, descents, different types of terrain, and very little shade. At this point, the Camino was no longer just an idea or adventure waiting to happen. It was real. So friends, we made it. The last 5 kilometers were hard because there wasn't a single drop of shade anywhere. The sun was beating down on us the whole time. It's probably around 40 degrees today. I have a feeling it's because we're carrying rain jackets. We have our rain jackets with us, so of course it's not raining. Now we are going to check in, finally in 700 meters, and then we'll have a beer. Bye! The first day didn't end with the victory, but with the quiet satisfaction of having taken the first step.